Some shows feel like they're trying too hard. Others don't have to. They just run clean, focused, and full of the kind of tattooing that doesn't need a sales pitch. NorCal Tattoo Expo is one of those. This is my second year attending and my first time covering an expo for the channel. Let me tell you about my experience and why I think it's the most important tattoo convention north of Sacramento. Welcome to Skin and Story. I want to try something. If you're not into it, go ahead and jump forward about 7 minutes. Now, I could tell you what the NorCal Tattoo Expo felt like, but I think it's better if you see it. So let's walk the floor together, booth by booth, just as if you were with me. Then we'll come back here, break it down, and I'll let you know my thoughts. There's something about walking a Tattoo Expo floor that feels like time travel. Every few steps, you see 50 years of tattoo history sitting side by side. The machines might be newer, the lighting brighter, but the work, the energy, the pride, it's all the same. You can feel it before you even stop moving. What I love most is watching people's faces when they see something that hits them. That flash of recognition. A panther that looks like the one their dad had. A dagger that reminds them of an old friend. You see that spark over and over again walking this floor. It's not nostalgia, it's connection. That's what tattooing is built on. The sound of machines never really becomes background noise. It's a pulse. It's how you know you're surrounded by people who live this. The tone changes booth to booth. Coils snapping, rotaries humming, that layered rhythm you can't fake. It's the heartbeat of the craft. I like to slow down near flash walls. You can tell which artists draw their own. The edges still show pencil marks, tape residue, little imperfections that prove it's handmade. That's what makes me stop. The best tattooing doesn't try to be perfect. It just tries to be right. I passed booths that felt like small museums, walls covered in flash, signed prints, and hand-painted banners. You can stand there all day just reading the history on paper. Every design is a conversation between past and present. Some booths felt like family gatherings, shop crews hanging out, trading jokes while they worked. Others were quiet, focused. Just one artist and one client in their own world. I love that contrast. You can see every version of tattooing here. The loud, the calm, the colorful, the black and gray. It's all valid, and it's all alive. The smell of green soap and stencil spray mixes with fresh paint and leather machine cases. There's always music in the background, never loud enough to drown out the machines, just enough to set the tempo. You can walk through the whole place and feel like you're part of a rhythm that started long before you showed up. Sometimes I stop just to look at people's hands. You can tell how long someone's been tattooing by their hands. How they hold a machine, how their knuckles move, how they stretch the skin. The veterans make it look effortless. That confidence comes from repetition. From years of doing this day after day. The booths aren't just workspaces. They're extensions of the shops they came from. You can tell a lot about an artist by how they set up. Some are neat, every bottled label and lined up. Others look like organized chaos. Either way, there's intention behind it. Tattooers have a relationship with their tools. Everything on that table has earned its place. When I film at a show like this, I try to stay invisible. I don't want to interrupt anyone's flow. I just want to capture what it feels like to be here. The moments between tattoos. The unspoken parts. You see an artist look up for a half-second smile, nod, then go right back to work. And that's the stuff that matters. Tattoo expos have changed a lot over the years, but the good ones still feel like working shops. No gimmicks, no stage lights. Just machines running, ink flying, and artists doing what they came to do. The NorCal Tattoo Expo feels like that. A working show. Real tattooers, real collectors, and real energy. Everywhere I looked, there were stories hanging on the walls. Painted daggers, sailor girls, dragons, hearts, each one carrying decades of lineage behind it. These aren't just designs, they're language. A panther means power, a dagger means sacrifice, a heart means something different to everyone who wears it. Tattooing speaks in symbols, but it's the people who give them their meaning. I stopped at a booth where two artists were trading flash sheets, flipping through binders, pointing at line weights, swapping paint tricks. That's how knowledge gets passed now. That's how knowledge gets passed down now. Not in classrooms or manuals, but across folding tables at conventions like this. The culture keeps itself alive. There's something special about the way light hits skin at a convention. Fluorescents are overhead, clip lights are on arms or backs, colors popping against the pale stencil lines. It's not glamorous. It's work, but it's beautiful in its own way. Every tattoo being done in this room will outlast the day, will outlast the event, the photos, everything. That's permanence, and it deserves to be treated with respect. Sometimes I think about all the hands that have held a machine before these ones, from the Bowery to Long Beach. From the Pike to Portland, generations of tattooers who never met each other still share a vocabulary. You can trace it in the line work, in the choice of color, in the confidence of a simple design done perfectly. Walking through, you see apprentices watching closely. Younger artists might be painting flash on iPads. Veterans still grinding it out with walk-ups and hand-cut stencils. There's no single right way to do it. The good ones all end up in the same place: solid, readable, and honest. Every so often I would stop filming and just watch. You can't capture everything on camera. Some of it you have to experience. The mix of smell and sound, the heat from the lamp, the vibration of the floor from 100 machines. It's a sensory overload, but in the best way. The thing about Northern California tattooing is it's never been about flashiness. It's about lineage and loyalty to your crew, your shop, your work. That's what shows here more than anywhere. You see people repping their towns, their mentors, their history. It's pride without pretense. There are always familiar faces, old friends, people you've been tattooed by, people who tattooed your friends. It's a small world. You shake hands, trade a few words, maybe make plans to line something up next time you're in the city. These connections keep the scene alive. I think about the future sometimes, how tattooing will look 20 years from now. The tools might change, the platforms might shift, but as long as there are artists willing to draw and collectors willing to sit, the culture's safe. Events like this prove it. You can't fake this kind of passion. By the time you've walked the full loop, you've seen 1,000 tattoos in progress, 100 handshakes, and at least few people getting their mind changed about what good tattooing looks like. That's the beauty of it. Every convention, a living classroom. Everyone's learning, even if they don't realize it. When I look back at the footage, it's not just the close-ups that get me. It's the wide shots, the room full of people, all there for the same reason. To celebrate something that's hard to explain to anyone who's never felt a machine on their skin. That's what I want people to understand. Tattooing isn't a trend. It's not fashion. It's a commitment to the art, to the history, and to the story that you're carrying. So when you walk an expo like this, take it in. Every sound, every color, every handshake. It's all part of the same living history. That's why I document it, because one day these booths will be gone, the banners will be folded up, the artists will be moved on to the next city. But this moment, this energy, this sense of continuity deserves to be remembered. The NorCal Tattoo Expo took over Redding for 3 solid days of tattooing, conversation, and connection. The floor was laid out in a wide oval, booths lining both the center and the perimeter, creating this constant flow of people, machines, light, and sound. Everywhere you looked, there was motion. Artists working, friends visiting, machines humming, and flashes of color cutting through the low, warm light. I met Paul and Aaron, the 2 people who run the expo. Both were professional, welcoming, and clear about their vision. They didn't throw up any roadblocks. They just said, go ahead and go for it. They gave me full freedom to shoot, to talk to artists. No caveats, no restrictions. You could feel that same attitude in how their team ran the floor. Organized, respectful, everything on time. It's worth saying plainly, they did a damn good job. I was there both Friday and Saturday. I'd made several full loops of the oval and stopped to reconnect with Oak Morgan, an artist featured right here on the Skin and Story flash wall, and one of my favorite characters in the Sacramento scene. Oak is always positive and happy to be where the action is. He's an awesome dude. Oak's booth sat across from Britton McFetridge, and the placement couldn't have been better. 2 different types of tattoo energy facing each other across the aisle. Oak's clean, bold, traditional work with Britton's deep, painterly flash style that's been anchoring Northern California for decades. Britt had an incredible spread of prints and originals for sale, a full table of color and history. That kind of work reminds you why paper still matters in a digital world. I was honored to spend some time chatting with him about what it takes to be a successful tattooer. Behind Oak's booth was Fast Time Tattooing out of San Diego, with Dre and Phil Hatchet Yao holding it down. Both of them were tattooing, Phil often bouncing between clients and judges' duties for the nightly tattoo contests. Watching him move through the floor was like watching someone who's been doing this long enough to make it look effortless. On the other side of the oval sat 11 Mag Tattoo from Brentwood, right next to the Grey Wulf tattoo booth, who is out of Redding. The contrast between the two was striking, but in the best possible way. Grey Wulf's black and gray realism next to 11 Mag's bold West Coast color. Grey Wulf's booth was a standout all weekend. I had a chance to connect with the folks at Grey Wulf. Hopefully we can arrange a shop profile soon. Their banners, the setup, the coordination, everything looked professional and proud. Cody Redwood from Grey Wulf took home the win in the tattoo competition that night, and it was well deserved. I was standing near the judges' table when they called it, and you could see everyone nodding in agreement. No arguments, pure respect. 11 Mag held their own too, delivering some gorgeous pieces. Both booths were busy from open to close, full of movement, machines running non-stop. You could tell they weren't there to posture, they were there to work. And I also had the honor of meeting Gio from Quarter Horse Tattoo. He was a close friend of Dave Gibson, who shared some serious history with me. The kind of deep shop stories that only surface when someone trusts you enough to tell them. I will be paying Quarter Horse a visit soon. Conversations like that are the heartbeat of what Skin and Story is all about. Milestone Tattoo was one of the most visually impressive setups in the room. Clean signage, a classic palette, and framed prints that made you want to take one home. Everything about their presentation said, "We care how this looks," and it showed. Walking the floor, you could see shop names that tell their own story. Hangman Tattoo from Placerville, Waterfront Tattoo out of Old Sacramento, Burning Bridges, Panther's Blood, Evil Stag, Everlasting, Blake's Tattoo, and countless others. Each booth had its own tone. Flash pinned up with pride, old school banners, shop shirts folded neatly, and that familiar hum of coil machines pushing color into skin. There were some booths I didn't photograph out of respect. There were artists working on more personal placements, clients getting tattooed on their ribs, on their butts, or on their chests. Some moments just belong to the people in them, and that's okay. Now, I spent a lot of time shooting photos throughout the weekend. If I handed you a business card, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to send copies of the photos I took of your booth or of your tattoos. This project only works because of the people in it. One of those photos stuck with me more than the rest. I'd stopped at a booth where an older gentleman was getting tattooed. He was calm, relaxed, with a perfect mustache that looked like it could tell its own stories. The artist was working steady, focused, surrounded by bright, traditional flash. The light caught just right when I took the shot. I took the photo, and I proceeded away. A few minutes later, his wife came over, and she asked me what the photos were for. I told her about Skin and Story, handed her a business card, and offered to send her a copy. That exchange, as small as it was, summed up the weekend. It wasn't about noise or hype. It was about real people, real tattoos, and a real sense of community. That photo ended up being one of my favorites. The artist's hand was steady, his concentration absolute. The flash behind him was alive with color. Reds, greens, yellows, each sheet like a time capsule from 100 shops past. The client's face said everything: trust, patience, and quiet pride. You can't stage that kind of moment. The expo layout itself made sense. An oval floor plan, booths back to back in the center ring and along the perimeter, keeping traffic moving without feeling crowded. You could loop through the entire show and never lose sight of the energy. At any given time, you'd hear the steady hum of machines layered with music, the occasional laugh, and that rhythm that only tattooing seems to have. A mix of focus and noise, chaos and calm. There were highlights everywhere. The Skull Museum booth brought a strong historical presence. Kurt Bear from Iron Mountain Tattoo was there, working like a craftsman, calm, methodical, every move deliberate. Gio at Quarter Horse gave me a history lesson between clients, the kind you wish you'd recorded. It all blended into one thing. Not a spectacle, but a working convention where good tattooers showed up, set up, and did what they do best. I left the expo thinking about what makes Northern California tattooing unique. It's not just the lineage, that runs deep, but it's a sense of continuity. The artists here aren't chasing trends. They're building on what came before. It's lineage in motion. To Paul and Aaron, and everyone on the NorCal Tattoo Expo staff, thank you for running a clean, respectful, and professional show. You made space for the artists to work, for people like me to document, and for the community to connect. This was not my first NorCal Tattoo Expo, and it definitely won't be my last. The legacy of traditional tattooing lives in our skin and in our story. Thanks for being here.